Do you hate the thought of working past 55 or 60? Do you hate not being able to live the life you deserve today? Do you hate not knowing what your financial future looks like? It's time to stop doing what you hate. Here's your host, Mr. Harold Green.
Aloha, everybody. This is Harold Green of Bright Tree Wealth Management, and it's time to stop doing what you hate. Hopefully you are having a fantastic day. Today, I say aloha because it's Friday, and in Hawaii, we used to do this thing called Aloha Fridays. And I have a very interesting story to share with you folks about my corporate job that I used to have a long time ago. And it was interesting because in Hawaii, everyone, they on Fridays, not only Fridays, but everyone wears aloha for, go to work. So if you're in a corporate job, you work at a bank. So you get a pretty nice aloha shirt and you come in all decked up with your aloha shirt and it's all great. But on Fridays, I started something called tie day. I was counterculture before counterculture was popular. So every Friday we would institute tie day because I would, and this was my wealth journey. I'll just put it like that to you. I would always do things to help bolster my confidence and to help flex my wealth muscle because everybody has wealth muscles, right? Just like you have muscles in your arms, everybody has wealth muscles. And some people have these gigantic wealth muscles. They can move gazillions of dollars. And some people, they can barely lift 50 cents. And I would go buy these ties. And of course I would, dress up and go to church, but I began to buy ties and suits and things like that. So I would come in full on jacket Friday, nice white press shirt, nice Armani tie, you name it, like some expensive ties. And so when I got a bonus, I would buy a tie and it just made me feel really good. And of course, during tie day, I didn't go out and see my Hawaii clients because you wear your aloha. So the tie day was just for the guys to kick around and have some fun in the office with it. And so I just started getting more and more people to wear ties to work on Fridays. And so I've always had the power of persuasion even before I knew it. But today, what I want to talk to you about is why your coworkers could be costing you millions of dollars in potential gains in your retirement or even, I guess, non-retirement portfolios. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, let's get it. Since we're going to be talking about investments, all investments carry risk of loss. Past performance is no indicator of future results. And if you're going to invest, make sure you're investing according to a well-balanced, comprehensive financial plan that has all of your needs and goals and dreams tied into it. Okay? So one of the things I hear all the time is, Harold, my coworker said this, or Harold, my coworker said that, or Harold, here's what my coworkers are doing. And I tell my clients, I asked them the question, why are you telling me? I'm managing your investments according to a plan. A lot of times your coworkers, they have no plan. They're running around like animals that are with their heads cut off, like chickens that are just, they don't know what to do. So every little thing that pops up on TV or every little rumor they hear, they're overreacting. And it's causing a lot of fear in the market. And I say, well, did you take their advice? And they'll say, yeah, Harold, sorry, but I changed my 401k to more conservative because, there's this guy at work and he's really smart and, and so on and so forth. And I said, well, if he's so smart and he's such a genius trading his portfolio, why is he still at work? Why is he still there? Silence. So I said, okay, talk to me about what you did. And my goal is not to make my clients feel bad at all. But I always say, can you give me a call before you do something like that? I know you might be scared. I know you might not be sleeping well at night, but you got to give me a call because you don't want to be like the blind leading the blind. I'm going to tell you a quick story about a client, and this happens more often than I'd like, but I'm not going to say anybody's name because this is a common thing. So I want to talk about the government TSP fund, the thrift savings plan. And if you're a federal worker, you have access to this. If you're military, you have access to this. And it's a pretty good plan. I mean, it's awesome if you're like a federal employee, but there's one more level of awesome outside of that. And so I talked to a client and the government was offering this thing where you turn 59 and a half and you could move your entire TSP outside of the government, no penalties, you're fully vested. You can just move it out and then start to have someone else manage it for you. So a couple of clients did that, but a lot of them that I knew, they or people that I knew of that had these TSPs, they didn't do it. And the ones who did move, they're well retired now, and they're not even looking back anymore. They are done, and they are done for good. And so a story of two clients, and they worked like in the same place. And the one client has said, so I'll just call her Michelle. That's not really her name. I'll say Michelle. So we get to move your TSP now. You're 59 and a half. And so what are we going to do? And she had about, I think it was like $500,000 or something in there. She said, Harold, I'm going to leave it at TSP. I said, why? Well, your fees are too high. I told my friends what you charge, and they said, that's too much. The TSP barely charges us anything. I said, Michelle, we're coming out of COVID here. And this is your greatest opportunity that you will probably have in a long time to get some potentially awesome returns. We can buy NVIDIA, we can buy Tesla, we can buy Apple. Can you buy that in the TSP? She said, no, but the fees over there are cheap. I was like, oh my God. I can't argue with you. I said, why are you saying that? Because everyone over here says don't do it. I says, who's everyone? Like all my coworkers are saying your fees are high and you should just leave it there. I said, oh my God. I said, okay, fine. I get it. I get it. And then I had another client in this similar situation, turned 59 and a half. And I call him Uncle Wayne. And then I believe Uncle Vince did it at the same time. Uncle Wayne and Uncle Vince, they worked in similar places too for the government. As soon as they turned 59 and a half, they said, Harold, here's 300, here's 400, whatever. And here's another chunk. Just move it and let's go. Let's get it. And that's what we did. They're both retired, and they're retired very well. Uncle Wayne is doing very well. Uncle Vince, they're doing very well. And I hope you're listening to the show because you two highly motivate me to continue to fight for your dreams, continue to fight for your goals, continue to help continue to build your legacy. So I'm extremely excited about that. And we have driven their portfolios towards the moon. Yes, we had a little bit of a setback here with this market, but it's just given us more buying opportunities to layer in positions in their portfolios. Did they complain about the fees that I charge? No, because investing outside of the TSP was one of the smartest things they did. Now, here's the situation with another client that was convinced the opposite way by coworkers. And this person, I'll call him Bobby, they had about maybe a year to retire. And it was 2023 or 2022, somewhere around there. And I said, hey, Bobby, I need you to change your TSP to 100% C fund, large cap domestic US. Let's go, 100%. And Bobby said, okay, I'll log on and make the changes. Like 6 months later, I did a review with Bobby. Said, hey, Bobby, the market is up huge right now. Did you make those changes? Bobby was like, no. I said, Bobby, are you still in G Fund? Bobby's like, yeah, Harold, I want to retire next year. And if I lose all this money, then I have to keep working. I said, Bobby, your husband's retired. We're driving his portfolio to the moon. You don't really need your IRAs or your 401ks. We can just live off your husband's money for the rest of your life. And I know you want your own thing, and I get it. And Bobby was like, no, I didn't. I was scared. Harold said, why were you scared? Bobby's like, well, my coworkers are saying we need to put it in the G Fund because everything is crashing around us and it's just not good. And I want to stay in the G Fund. So a year after that conversation, the market had gone through the roof, and Bobby was having some problems with stress and stuff like that. And Bobby went out one time and just went on vacation. And then Bobby called me and said, Harold, I ain't going back. I ain't going back. I just can't do this job no more. It's killing me. I ain't going back. And so as we begin the rollover process of the TSP, Bobby's like, so what are we going to do with my TSP? I said, well, Bobby, we're going to roll it over. And Bobby's like, I don't know if I really want to do that. I said, Bobby, what are you talking about? Well, all my friends are saying I should leave my TSP and just take it and just turn it into a pension every month and just kind of take the money. I said, Bobby, how's that going to help you reach your goals and stuff like that? I said, you've given me additional goals that you want to accomplish. How is leaving it in the TSP G fund going to help you get there by taking $1,000 a month for the next 50 years? That's not going to help you get there. You're going to have to downsize everything. So after much consternation and, Bobby's husband was like, Bobby, I'm retired. Harold has us squared away. You don't have to worry about this. We really don't even need that money. So let's go. So eventually Bobby moved it over, and I can't say Bobby's name, but every time I see her, I always give her a big hug and I say, you know what? Thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for being a real trooper. I know the market doesn't look great right now, but it's giving us an opportunity to help you reach all your dreams and goals. We have great potential to do that. And so when I compare these things, I always send out market minutes to my clients to calm them down. And if they're government employees, I tell them, here's where you should be right now. Let's go 100% TSPC. And they say, well, what about the I fund, Harold? What about the S fund? Well, the S fund is small cap. And if you know anything about small caps, they don't perform in high interest rate environments. They perform in low interest rate environments. Well, Harold, what about the I fund? I heard we should be going international right now because America is just like, we should be looking international. I said, well, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look. Over the lifetime of the TSP, the C fund has done 10.96%. The G fund has done 4.65%. And the international fund has only done 5.16%. Even 10-year, the G fund is 2.59. The C fund is 12.48. And the I fund is only 5.53. You got $1 million in your TSP and you're either sitting in the G fund or the F fund or the I fund, and you're not 100% in the C. You really need to sit down and talk to a planner and just kind of talk to them and say, hey, this is what I'm looking at doing. And that's very important. So every 2 weeks, I put out a market minute and I talk to my clients about what's going on in the market as a whole, what's going on in our position. So we talk about the overall market, but I don't put a lot of credence on that. And then I talk about our overall positions and how current affairs are driving our positions either up or down. We talk about things like oil prices. We talk about things like bond yields. We talk about things like the media, fear and greed. We talk about what's going on in the world and different things like that. What are our catalysts that will propel us forward or drag us backwards? What are we working with here? And there's people out there who sell, they run the treasuries, and now they're stuck. They don't know when to get out. And if you're working with our firm, we're constantly giving you feedback. I used to be an air traffic controller again, and we're constantly looking at the radar and giving pilots instructions to either turn left heading, blah, 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 climb to blah, 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 take flight level, blah, 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 do this, do that. Like we're constantly looking at the radar and giving instructions. It's the same thing when I look at the positions in the market. I'm looking at the positions as if they're on a radar. What is Amazon doing today? Well, they're tracking here. What is NVIDIA doing here? What is Coworkers, or what is Tesla, or what's Deere? What is Caterpillar doing today? Let's look at these charts and figure out, okay, who's reporting today? So there's a lot of things that we look at. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to encourage you to seek professional guidance over going to the water cooler and talking to Jerry at the water cooler who knows everything about the stock market. Jerry's well invested in the market. He knows everything. He does the research, and you're either going to listen to Jerry or you're going to go hire somebody to build a well-balanced, comprehensive financial plan and then invest your money according to that plan. Because if Jerry was so awesome, Jerry would be retired or Jerry would be at home day trading. And there's a lot of stuff out there on Reddit. There's stuff on YouTube. And there's people they're complaining about what a friend gave them, the advice, and they followed it. And now they're all pissed off about it. They researched YouTube about stock market mistakes and things like that. There's thousands and thousands of views on these topics. And what that tells me is it tells me that people are not investing according to a plan, but they're just looking for tidbits. And we live in a soundbite generation now. We live in a microwave generation where everything has to be pop, 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 real fast, real fast, real fast. Let's get it right now. Investing is not so. So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. I followed this a long time ago. In my job in corporate world, I became extremely successful in my position. And I had outgrown the position that the company had just created for me. I grew out of that very quickly. And I went back and I had negotiated higher salary based on productivity and all the money I was bringing into the department. And they're like, Harold, we just can't pay you no more. If you want more money, you have to go start your own company or go to work in sales or somewhere else, because we can't pay a person that's non-sales or non-vice president or whatever, that kind of money. We just can't do it. And on my rise up that ladder, I would come in on the weekends, I would work. And one of the guys said, Harold, and he was one of the vice presidents, he said, Harold, do you ever just stop to enjoy the fruits of your labors? I said, no, because the fruit ain't enough. I said, his name was Dave. I said, Dave, I can't even buy a house right now here in Hawaii. I can't even buy a house, Dave. I'm working like hell. I'm doing well, but I'm not doing as well as I need to do. So no, there is no fruit to enjoy because it ain't enough. And I kept hearing people say, Harold, you just need to slow down. You need to take it easy. You know how old I was back then? How old was I back then? I think it was 1999. And I had my second kid, and my wife had decided to quit her job and stay home. And I just had to grind. And we had a bonus structure that it was so tough in Hawaii at the time. If I didn't meet my bonuses every quarter and stack enough money to go through like the next quarter, I literally wouldn't be able to pay my rent. That's just how tight things were for us back then. So no, I did not listen to my coworkers' advice. I kept grinding. I kept working hard. I quit that company and I started my own. It failed miserably. It felt so miserable because I listened to the wrong person again. And well, not again, but I took the wrong advice. I took business partners when I should have went solo. I had to get rid of the business partners. It cost me a lot of money because business divorce is very messy. And then I started my next company with $238 in a little banker's bag when they had them back then, $238. I started solo, $238, and God blessed me tremendously because I was working hard. He began to send new clients my way. We began to create new strategies. And from there, I became very successful at that. Then I built an investment firm, and we're successful at that, I believe, to the point where I'm now here talking to you. So please stop listening to the break room experts. Book a call with me today at brightfg.com for some real advice. Or you can listen to the next episode to avoid the annuity trap. So thanks for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, 1, 2, 3, let's get it.
This is the podcastfactory.com.